Welcome back and prepare to be bedazzled, because today I'm going to be shedding light on the number 2 reason appertaining why the land of Draconian slavery and Draconian oppression is a terrible place to live in. So what is this attributable to? Without further ado, without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to demystify that answer to that inquiry right here, right now. Lamentably, much of my dismay, much of my consternation, much of my chagrin, much of my grief, much of my agony, much of my agitation, much of my irritation in the land of Draconian slavery and Draconian oppression. Slavery by evisceration fees is perpetrated against people who are part of the real price sector workforce. In the controlled market economy, there are over 13,000 evisceration fees that are imposed by bureaucratic apparatuses, which people work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand pay and do not receive anything for paying. In this controlled market economy, having over 13,000 evisceration fees that are imposed by bureaucratic apparatuses, which people work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand pay and do not receive anything for paying, not only amplifies the cost of living, but also uncommonly reduces the standard of living for people who work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand. When a person's standard of living is reduced, then it can adversely impinge on his quality of life. In this controlled market economy, having over 13,000 evisceration fees that are imposed by bureaucratic apparatuses, which people work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand pay and do not receive anything for paying, renders it far more cumbersome for people who work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand to be able to afford to attain a mediocre standard of living. In a controlled market economy, a person needs to have substantial wealth to be able to afford to attain his basic needs, such as a housing need and transportation need. In this controlled market economy, when people work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand pay, evisceration fees that are imposed by bureaucratic apparatuses, they not only receive absolutely nothing for doing so, but also deplete the hard-earned money. By depleting the hard-earned money on paying evisceration fees that are imposed by bureaucratic apparatuses that they receive absolutely nothing for paying, it can also render it far more cumbersome for them to establish a sizable investment portfolio. Even though modern slavery is the epitome of a flagrantly deplorable injustice that should have never been brought to fruition, it is inapt to ever be abolished in the 21st century, 22nd century, nor 23rd century. Nothing salubrious can ever ensue from a person succumbing to modern slavery. Similarly to traditional slavery, modern slavery is also an immoral, reprehensible, and inhumane injustice that should have never been brought to fruition. There is no vindication for slavery existing in any form. The practice of slavery is always unwarranted, unvindicated, and unjustified. Someone is all the more susceptible to succumb to a destitute standard of living as a corollary of a myriad of evisceration fees being imposed against people who are part of the real price sector workforce. People are bereft of their hard-earned money when they work real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand in the land of Draconian slavery and Draconian oppression. Someone is all the more vulnerable to becoming indigent, destitute, impoverished, and penurious when a surfeit of evisceration fees are perpetrated against him that he receives absolutely nothing for paying. These evisceration fees are steep, and it is all the more arduous for someone to even attain a mediocre standard of living when an exorbitant amount of evisceration fees are imposed against him that he receives absolutely nothing for paying if he's part of the real price sector workforce. People are monetarily penalized for contributing to economic production and working real price sector jobs based on voluntary demand in the land of Draconian slavery and Draconian oppression. So, I hope that you deem this video to be riveting, captivating, mesmerizing, insightful, enthralling, intriguing, engrossing, and amusing. I hope that you are entrenched in the unalloyed epicness. Once again, to recapitulate, slavery in any form is unvindicated, unwarranted, and unjustified. It is immoral, deplorable, reprehensible, and inhumane. Thanks for watching. Have a blissful day.